All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Quest for Success podcast. Today we have on the head basketball coach for Porterville College and women's basketball program, former college basketball player. She was also coached with Rob Haynes when he was the head coach at PC. She was an assistant coach with him, and at the time she was the only women assistant coach on a men's program in the state of California. So welcome to the podcast, Alia Alvarez. We're excited to finally get you on. We've been talking about it for a while, so yeah, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we like to start off each episode with the mental minute questions, okay? We're going to start off with something fun, okay? Which do you prefer, low or high tops when you're playing basketball?
When I'm playing?
Yes.
Low tops.
Low tops. Why?
Low tops. I don't know. I feel like I could just move a little bit better.
Okay, so it has more to do with the comfortability, not the look.
I like the look too, though.
Okay, she's about the look as well. Okay.
Kobe's are the best.
I was about to ask which low top.
Kobe's, 100%. Most comfortable. I feel like you never have to break them in. They're just the best shoe I've ever worn.
Right out of the box.
Yes.
Okay.
I love them.
Nice.
Kobe's. When you hear the word basketball, what comes to your mind?
When I hear the word I think of all like the great players, but Michael Jordan for sure. Like that's the first thing I think of is Michael Jordan.
And so that was going to be, I guess, the next question. Who was your favorite basketball player? So
Michael Jordan, 100%, hands down, the GOAT.
Yeah. Okay. Michael Jordan, obviously a guy who has had a lot of success. Mm-hmm. What's your definition of success?
To me, I think my definition of success is just giving everything you have, 110%, win or lose, as long as you give everything that you could possibly give and you can look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and said, I did everything. I think that's success right there.
Might want to bring the mic just a little closer.
Oh, okay. My bad.
So Michael Jordan is your favorite basketball player?
Yes.
We answered that. Why?
And I think it's more like, obviously, he's great, right? Like his play is amazing, his skill. But to me, it's the mental aspect of him. He's just so competitive, so determined. Everything was like a do or die situation for him. And like, I just love that competitiveness, that competitive nature he had on and off the court, right? Like you always hear about him making bets, coffee, and doing this, doing that. Yeah. I like that mentality. Mm-hmm.
And also like the mystery kind of Michael Jordan. We know so much about him, but also like he's not on social media, no personal accounts. Like I always wonder like, what's Michael Jordan doing right now? Like what's he doing, you know? And because he doesn't showcase his whole life on social media all the time, every day. Mm-hmm. So he does like, we know a lot about him and all this stuff, but also like there's a lot of stuff like day to day, like what's this guy doing right now? Like what's he spending his time doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's, which is crazy to say. I mean, the guy's known globally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anywhere you go anywhere in the world and Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. All right. What is one of your biggest pet peeves that players do on the basketball court?
There's a few.
Name all of them. Go all of them. Yeah.
I'll go. I think my number one thing is if you turn the ball over and you walk or jog back. That makes me mad. It makes me mad when I played, and it makes me mad coaching. That should never happen.
So that's at the top of the list?
That's the top.
That's the top.
100% top. This is more so, I would say, in the men's side. I hate flopping. I hate this flop culture we got going on.
Right.
I hate that. And then just negative behavior, like negative attitude, negative body language, whether you don't agree with the call with the ref or maybe you miss a shot. Like I don't want to see your emotion, and I don't like that.
So as a coach, and this is kind of something we'll get into here in a bit, a little bit more in depth, but as a coach, when you see that, right, at PC or whoever you're coaching, right, you see that, how do you respond? And what do you think the best way to respond is to get them to realize like, hey, I don't like this. And I'm sure you set your boundaries at the beginning of the season. So when they actually do it, it's even worse, right?
Yeah.
So when they do it after you've set those expectations, how do you respond to that as a coach?
Usually we have like a thing we say, like a mantra that we say as a team, like will be like the next play. So anytime someone turns it over, the whole bench should be like next play, next one. Or we have the short-term memory. So I try to give them those trigger words to try to refocus and get back to what they can control. Because my background, I got my master's in sports psychology, and I talk to the girls a lot about the controllables in life, right? The only things you can control are your attitude and effort, like how you respond to things and the amount of effort you put into something. So we have that talk continuously throughout the year. They know the controllables. And sometimes I just remind them with, a few words here or there, a mantra we have the next play, or whether it's short-term memory or the controllables, to try to refocus them on what they can control.
That's a good way to put it. Okay. We talked about the things that bother you. All right. Now tell us the things that you feel, in your opinion, that make a successful hooper, right? What are the top 3 traits that every basketball player must carry to be a successful hooper?
Does this have to be basketball specific, or can it be like any sport?
We're talking basketball.
Basketball?
Yeah, we're talking basketball.
Because to me, it's more of a mindset than it is like the actual skill work.
Okay.
Right, to be successful in your sport. And if we're talking about basketball, in this case, basketball. But I think number 1 is you have to have a love and respect for the game, because there's times when it's no longer a game, it's a job, especially the higher we get in the level, right? Like JUCO, yeah, it's more time commitment, more pressing than it is in high school. But at the 4-year level, it's a job and it is a business. So you have to have that love and respect for the game, because day in, day out, when you're in the grind and the days that you hate your job, you still got to love it and still got to be willing to show up and give 110%. So number 1, you have to have love and respect for the game. I think you also need to be determined to know what you want and what you want out of this sport. Like, are we using this sport as a catalyst to get us a free education? Are we using this sport because we just want to further the career? Are we looking for a pro, like maybe some, pro opportunities after? You need to know what you want out of this sport, and then we can coach you based off of that, and what you're trying to get out of it. So that would be number 2, determination. And then, oh, that's a good one.
We'll take those 2. Those 2 are good.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I feel like
basically you're trying to say you got to know your why.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
You got to once you know your why, then we can figure it out from there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll get to kind of some of your personal stuff in a bit, but I want to start off kind of the main segment with coaching philosophy. We've talked about bits and pieces of it, right? You've played successful high school career. You played at the JUCO level. You played at a university in Hawaii, and now you have coached a men's program. With the men's program. Now you're the head women's coach at Porterville College and with a JUCO program. You've been around high school programs. I'm sure you've been around some great, amazing 4-year university coaches as well. And you have your master's in sports psychology. Okay. And you coach, and you're a PE teacher. So you do a lot of things. You wear a lot of hats, and you've experienced a lot of things. Am I missing anything? Because that's a lot. So my thing is you're successful. But with that, with everything that you've learned, what is your coaching philosophy? Like, lay it out for us.
Yeah. That's actually such a good question, because I get that from recruits sometimes when I'm talking to them, trying to get them to come out here to PC. Like, why PC? Why me, right? Like, why are you going to bet on me? And I don't even know if this is like the typical standard answer, but to me, my philosophy is to get kids out, right? Get them exposure, get out of here. Go experience something other than the Valley. Go somewhere else and, take a risk, and hopefully you play for a coach that you like, you get to the school that you should be at, and we find a good fit. So my X's and O's change depending on who I have.
Based on your personnel.
Yeah. So it's always my personnel. So I don't really have like a set in stone. This is what I like. This is my ideal philosophy. This is what I do. It just depends on the kids, and it mainly depends on my sophomores, because that's who I work for. Like, to me, I'm a coach, right? But I think I work in a service industry. Like, I serve them. Like, my job is to get them to be the best they can possibly be, and the best them that they are, to get them out of here so they can be successful somewhere else. So, yeah, like, it sounds interesting, but yeah, just get kids out, and whatever means necessary that I got to do that, I got to do that. Whether it's learning how to use the talent we have in the correct way and figuring out what is going to be the best, fit for our team. And that's a lot of research on my end. That's a lot of shifting my perspective on my end. I got to do a lot of homework. I got to figure out, how I'm going to get the best out of these kids. But it's changed. I've been the coach at PC, the women's coach, for 3 years, and every year has been completely different. I've been different. So it just kind of depends on my girls, really.
I love how you mentioned, one of your main goals and missions is to get kids out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get kids to go experience, which you did the same thing. You played at PC and you went and played at Hawaii eventually. I mean, what better place to go play, right? So it's that experience.
Yeah.
It's being able to experience. And I think one of the best things is have coaches that did go through those levels, because people look down on JUCOs, and JUCOs don't get the support and the funding that they deserve a lot of times. So I think that's huge, and you implement that into your own program.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's take it back to you now, though. Okay, I want you to tell us where it all started for you. From the moment you picked up a ball yourself, and to where it's like, this is love. This is what I want to do. This is who I want to be, and this is what I'm gonna take off with. So when did it start for you?
So I started playing basketball very young age. I probably was like in first grade. I think that's like my first game, and I don't necessarily think like I was in love with it right away. I think I was naturally just pretty good at it, so I continued that trend and kept playing.
You made time for it.
Yeah, for sure. But like in high school and all that, I wasn't the gym rat. Like I wasn't doing all that. Like you see some kids nowadays, they're in high school, they know exactly what they want to do. I didn't know that yet. I didn't know if I wanted to continue playing basketball. I didn't know I didn't even know if I was going to go to college, if I'm being 100% honest. Like, the only reason why I even went to PC was because I didn't apply for any colleges, like, at my senior year. And Coach Cavern asked if I was interested in playing. So I said, yeah, I got nothing else going on. So I went. And, I was a pretty decent player. So I got some minutes, I started experiencing some things, and it was pretty cool. And I've always been the type of person that doesn't shy away from hard work. So I liked the grind of it, but I wasn't putting in 110% effort until the summer going into my sophomore year. Like, that's when like a light switched in me, and I just started committing myself. And like when I say committing myself, like fully immersing myself in basketball. Like, I was in the gym day in, day out, hours and hours. Me and Coach Cavern probably spent every holiday together. I was there Christmas Eve, Christmas Day with him, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, Thanksgiving. Like, we spent every single day. There wasn't a day that went by that I didn't go in the gym. We have games Saturday. I was in the gym Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Like, I was just doing all that, playing pickup whenever I could, Monachi Friday nights, playing pickup with the boys till 1 in the morning. I would go to the PDC, the state hospital, and play with the workers on their lunch breaks. I go to Burton Middle School, and the town and country workers would go and they'd play pickup, my brother's friends. And I would completely immerse myself. But I don't think I got to that point until, going into my sophomore year. But mainly, I think the event that made me like really focus and hone in on it was when my grandpa died. Because he was like he was our biggest support system ever. It's my mom's dad. Best person I've ever met in my life. Greatest person, hands down. But he was just so proud of like me, my brother, and our accomplishments sports wise. And he was just our biggest support system. And when he died, I kind of just like shifted everything to like everything I do from this moment forward has been for him. So I think that's like that moment is when I think I fell in love with the game.
It clicked.
Yeah, it clicked. It was more than just, I like it, it's cool, I'm decent at it. It was like, no, I love every aspect of it, because I think I fully gave myself at that point to the game.
So when you actually find that and you have a purpose, right? You have a reason, you have a purpose. What was like, I guess, the drive? Because you said that you didn't necessarily have anything going on. Like, you didn't have plans of playing college. So like your junior and senior year of high school, like you didn't have no plan. Like, you just like, why was that, you think?
I really I was the kid that was like the best player at the school, right? Like I was the best player at my high school, but I really wasn't that great, you know? Like I was okay. I was decent. I think I was an average player. And maybe like I might be being humble. If you ask somebody else, I might say I was pretty good. But I was skating by on that athleticism that I already had. Like I had teachers who were coaches who kind of just like, you know, well, let's help her out. I wasn't that good academically. My freshman year, I was like failing 2 classes. Like I wasn't driven in any way. I don't know what it was. I was just always kind of labeled like the jock. And so I really didn't like think of myself as anything more than that. And going into junior, senior year, like I don't have the greatest grades. You know, I'm doing decent. I'm doing average. I'm not getting any looks from anybody. I kind of was just like, oh, this is going to be it. And I didn't think, you know, I didn't think I was going to go to college. I didn't think I was going to go to a 4-year nor get a scholarship to play at a 4-year. Like that was never a thought process for me. I was really just not honed in. Like I just didn't have a drive at that point.
Do you think you were just like in this bubble and you weren't exposed to the opportunities that could have been there? Like, do you think that was kind of maybe part of it? Like you were a good player in town. You were being coached by, you know, good coaches, but just not knowing, kind of, you don't know what you don't know type of thing. Like,
yeah, I think it could have possibly been that, but also we were not like at this time, Porterville High School is not a very successful program either. Like we were, you know, we weren't winning a whole lot of games. It kind of was not fun. And unfortunately, when I was in high school, I had a new coach every year. My freshman, sophomore, junior, senior was a new coach. The turnover was tremendous. Yeah. So, you know, we didn't have someone set in stone that was there for a while. Like how it was at PC when I got there with Cavern. I think that made a difference too. Like the culture of Porterville High School wasn't the greatest at the time because the turnover was just so high. But yeah, I don't know. It could have been a whole lot of things.
But it all worked out.
But at the end of the day, I think I went where I belonged. Like I think I needed to go to PC. I needed to play for Coach Cavern. Coach Cavern, I have so much love and respect for that man. Like he's probably one of my best friends. Like I still talk to him religiously to this day. But I needed to play for someone like him. Like I wasn't the super confident person that, and I'm not saying I'm like the most super confident person now, but like I didn't think I was that good of a player. I wasn't that smart, but like he kind of instilled that in me. Like he would tell me, you know, like, you know, he made me feel like I was worth a damn. So like, I think I needed that. I needed to play for him. So I think I ended up where I should have been. And then I just kind of ran with it. Once I got some confidence, I ran with it.
Yeah. So saying what you just said, you think you ended up where you should have been.
100%.
But would you say now, going what you've gone through and knowing what you know now, would you have done some things differently though?
Yo, for sure. Like, I think I would have taken my sport more seriously at an earlier age. Like in high school, I definitely probably would have, you know, gone to the weight room maybe once every while. Right. Spend some time on my craft outside. Watch basketball more. Just study the game. Like I would do a lot of things differently. And even at the JUCO level, like I could have put in more time. Like I could have put in more work. Like I could have definitely watched more film. In Hawaii, I could have put in more time. I could, like, there's a lot of things. And I think like when you're in it, it's kind of hard to say like, yeah, I want to invest more time in it when you already feel like you're investing a lot. But looking back, like I could have done more. 100% I could have done more.
With, you know, so when was your last year playing?
Ooh, 2016.
2016. So 2016 to now, the game's obviously evolved, right? Some for the better, some for the worse. What's your opinion about the evolution of the game?
Ooh, that's tough. That's tough for me. Personally, I think my biggest like pet peeve about the game now is more so what the kids are being taught or lack of what they're being taught. So when I get kids that maybe have played AAU their whole life or played in high school and been in a successful program, they still don't know a lot of things that I think they should know. Like I think the IQ is a little low with these kids. And I think like creativity is low. And so
what about AAU makes them not have that? Why aren't they receiving that?
No, I get you. So from everything that I've watched AAU, it's a lot of like ISO, right? Like it's isolation, run and gun, transition, everything like that. I don't think kids are being taught like, if I gave you this certain type of defense that you're gonna see, how do you break that? You know, like if I tell you like it's a 1-3-1, how are we gonna break that in the sets that we currently run? What adjustments we make? You know, if we have a team that switches a lot on us and we have a pick and roll action, who's open?
Right.
You know, like it's stuff like that where I think they don't have that IQ. It's just a lot of what they see in front of them is what they know, and we can't see beyond that. So a lot of times, especially last year, one of my girls, we have a play where we have a drag screen on the left side of the court, and like the whole back side's completely open because it's a 4 high. So we're trying to get someone to slip down there. And we're so caught up on the first person in front of us, we don't even know where secondary defense is at. Like we can't see beyond who's in front of us. We don't know that if we went left, there's no one and we can get to the rack easily.
Right.
Like we don't see the whole court. We don't see the whole game. And I think that is what's lacking with today's kids. They don't, number one, I don't think they're students of the game. I think they don't study the game. And I think also too, like, I mean, we watch the NBA, we fantasize about it. We watch I mean, it's different. It's not us. That's not you, you know? So, I think we're just mimicking a lot of that we see, and we're not really teaching them fundamental things. And to me, that's the frustrating part is now I gotta backtrack on what I think you should already know. I gotta teach you that. And it's frustrating for me because there'll be times where I want to scream, I want to yell, I want to address this, but I can't get mad at you if you don't know. So that's the issue and struggle I have because we're at a JUCO, but yet our IQ, our play levels, maybe freshman, sophomore in high school. So that's kind of what I struggle with today's game.
Sure. Yeah.
So I guess what advice would you give to kids? Let's say you're recruiting them, right? And what advice would you give them to be more recruitable and to sell themselves to coaches and colleges? Like, hey, like, yeah, you got it together. You have all the pieces to the puzzle. Like, what are those pieces? I guess they need to have.
Number one, I think every coach says, like, be coachable, be a sponge. You want to learn as much as you possibly can. Like, yeah, your knowledge will come in handy, but you want to absorb other people's knowledge too and get different perspectives because what I see is different from what you see versus what you see, right? And like even just learning from your teammates, I think makes it tremendous. It makes a difference too. So being a sponge, asking questions, like whenever I explain stuff to the girls, I'll be like, does that make sense? If it doesn't, let me know. And I can tell you why, or explaining why. Like, so I think a lot of coaches, we assume that kids know why we're doing the things we're doing. And sometimes I'll just break it down and be like, do you know why I want you to do this? Because if we don't know why, then you don't know how important it is. And then if you don't think it's important, then we're not going to do it.
Right.
So I try to break everything down as minimal, like it's a small, like, for a 5-year-old to understand it. Like if I can't explain it like that, then I'm not teaching it correctly, So be a sponge, ask questions. I would say be a student of the game, watch basketball all the time. And not just like today's game, but go watch old film, go watch European like basketball, go watch a bunch of different things, go play, especially with the girls, I tell them, go play with the boys, like a fast paced game, a more physical game. And then like whenever, if they take the ball away from you or if they swat you, ask what you could have done to get that off. So just being a student, just learning, trying to absorb as much information as possible. And then, more on like the behavioral, I guess, aspect of it is just having a good positive attitude too. Like be a good teammate.
Yeah.
Like you want to be a good person in general, but be a good teammate, be someone you would want to be around, know?
Yeah.
Be positive, be a positive person there day in and day out, even when you have a bad day.
Yeah, I think that's important because like you talked about AAU earlier, the different offenses they're running and whatnot. And sometimes like you go to a Saturday or Sunday AAU tournament, and you know, I've listened to Gino and talk about this as well. It's like, yeah, like in today's world, everyone's trying to get recruited, and it's me.
100%.
But like the real good college coaches, you look at UConn, or I'm sure even at the JUCO level, you guys are looking for that. Like, what happens when things don't go your way?
100%.
Okay, how are you gonna respond when
Exactly.
you don't get the points, or you get shut down, or you get put on the bench? Like, what's your body language look like?
Mhm.
Okay, like coaches are looking at that.
Oh yeah.
All right, they want to see the bench. They want to see film on the bench. They want to
Yeah.
see all those little pieces that a lot of these kids aren't thinking about yet.
Right.
No, and I've said this. We've had a conversation about this, me and you, Zach, but also I've talked to other people about it. When we send film to a 4-year, it's not highlights. Anybody can look at a highlight,
Yeah.
you know? It's a full game. They want to see how you respond when you mess up. They want to see how, if you're a shooter, how do you react when you have a bad shooting night? What else are you going to do? Like, if I'm a shooter and I'm not shooting well, what can I do to help my team win? What am I willing to sacrifice in order to help my team win? And I think kids, you know, they do rely on all the highlights, all that stuff, but they don't realize it's a package deal. I don't get the good without the bad.
Yeah.
So I want to know your bad too. You know, I want to know what that bad is and how can I manage that bad? Do I even like that bad?
Mhm.
Right? Because you could be the greatest in the world, but if that bad is outweighing your greatness, do I want that? I don't know if I necessarily want that.
Yeah, the risk versus reward, right?
It's a trade-off. And, you know, a lot of times too, with the girls now, and we talked about this a lot last year, is like, I feel like a lot of times when things don't go right, we just want to like, we're done. We quit. It's over. Like we want to throw in the bag. And these kids need to realize you need to have what I talked with the girls a lot, is having loyalty in adversity, right? Just things are going to go bad. Stuff's going to go wrong. There's going to be times where you're having a terrible game, but like, can you stick to the plan? Can you stick through this? Can you continue doing the stuff that you don't want to do, even if the outcome's not exactly what you want? So I think having that loyalty and adversity too is hard for kids to grasp and kind of stick behind.
And also, can you adapt? Because like when you're recruiting, a lot of times you're recruiting, you know, maybe it is the best player at their high school, okay? And they're used to having the ball, they're used to putting up points, but throughout a season, you're going to have bad nights. And sometimes your shot's off, okay? But let's say you're having a bad shooting night. Are you able to adapt and say, hey, have enough humility to say, my shot's not going in the night. Let me take a step back. Let me step in a different role. Let me distribute the ball with a good attitude. Can you do that? Like, that's huge.
No, yeah. And we always, I feel like I say a lot of things to the girls. I feel like I preach to them a lot. Now I feel like I'm preaching a lot too right here, but
it's good stuff.
But always talk about, you know, be the glue girl, the girl that holds everything together. And to me, the person that is more recruitable than anybody else is the person that's going to do all the dirty work, right? Who's going to take the charges? Who's going to die for the 50-50? Who's going to sacrifice whatever it is? If I say like, hey, like Blaine, tonight I need 20 rebounds from you. I don't even care if you score. If you're going, all right, cool, I'll do that. Now I need you to score tonight. All right, cool, I'll do that. Like you have to adjust and you have to be able to do whatever we need you to do. And to me, that is recruitable. If I can say, hey, I need you to focus on this, hey, I need you to focus on that, and they can do that, and I, you know, when I'm talking to coaches, this kid will do whatever you need him to do. They're willing to sacrifice their stats for you, like whatever it is, their ego, whatever, they'll do it for you. Like you can't. How you gonna out recruit that?
Yeah,
you can't do that.
Yeah,
because anybody can be a shooter. Like a shooter, just a shooter. But if you're a shooter who will also get offensive boards, who also die for 50-50s, will take those charges, who's getting a lot of tips, maybe you get a lot of steals. Like you got to have a bigger bag than just being able to shoot, just being able to handle the ball, just being able to get rebounds. Like you have to sacrifice.
There's only so many shooters too. Like sell yourself.
Yeah.
Be multi, be a multi-tool.
Right. So how many years now? You said 3?
3 as the women's head coach, yes.
3 years as the women's head coach, okay. So in a nutshell, you know, what is it that you feel that separates you from other coaches? What do you bring to the table? You know, if I'm a parent, Lane's my daughter, And, you know, we're sitting here, you know, at the sofa table and you're trying to tell us, look, I really want you to come to my program.
Yeah.
Great. That's awesome. So does everybody else.
Yeah.
But why am I going to go to you?
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing that I think sets me apart from other coaches is like, I think I don't view this as much of like winning and losing.
Mm-hmm.
I think of my job as making them successful in whatever aspect that looks like.
Right.
And I'm willing to risk, like, if I had the choice between, you know, your kid going to a 4-year and getting a full ride, or, you know, getting some type of scholarship at whatever level, NAIA, D1, D2, D3, whatever it is, versus winning a state championship, I would choose your kid going to a 4-year anytime. Like, I want your kid to get better. And a lot of times when I do recruit the kids, yeah, like, let's say I recruit you to be a shooter. I don't want you to just be a shooter. And that's something I'll tell them straight up. Yeah, it's great that you can shoot the ball, but you know how many other kids can too? So, like, I try to be as brutally honest, and I'm honest with the parents, I'm honest with the kid. If we're going by what we did in high school, we're not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. So I got to develop you in a different way. So if you're willing to take that risk and want to grow, I think I'm the person to do it with. Yeah. Because I will definitely challenge you and make you grow and put you in successful situations.
Right.
And whatever I can do to help that, I will 100%. Mm-hmm. And then I think a lot too is just being from the background that I have, you know, the experiences I have. I do share like some of my personal experiences, and I kind of just let them know, like, hey, at the end of the day, like, your kid is my biggest concern. Mm-hmm. And so whatever I can possibly do to help your kid, I'm going to absolutely do it. So I think I just look at this game and at my job as helping the kid versus like winning games. If we can win games though, like, of
it's
course.
A bonus.
Yeah. It's a bonus,
byproduct.
100%.
Right.
But my biggest goal is you go out of here with your AA, you go to a 4-year, hopefully we're getting it paid for, right? We're making money out of it. And
everybody wins.
You get, and then in that case though too, whenever I do look for schools for the kids that I have like that schools, it's not just whatever school's interested in them. Like, it's not just that. I got to make sure that school is a good fit for this kid. So I talk to the coaches. I tell them, maybe, you know, we talk about their background, their personal story. And I gotta be honest with that coach. Like, this is what this kid needs. Right. Can you provide that for this kid? Mm-hmm. Like, and I try to find a school that matches what that kid needs. It's not just, I'm trying to send a kid out to a 4-year. Oh, they went to a 4-year for 1 year. They hated it, came back. They're not playing anymore. Like, I want them to graduate from that spot. I want them to have success in that spot and enjoy their experience, as well as, you know, get to play and say they got a scholarship. But I want them to be successful where they are too.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, playing at a JUCO and now coaching at a JUCO, it's, you know, it's a challenge, right? Nevertheless. And it takes special coaches to be able to be successful. And when we talk about success, I think it's not just about the wins and losses. I think you just said it perfectly. It's about helping these kids go to a 4-year, get their college paid for, right? And be successful people in life in general. What are some of the, I guess, the biggest challenges, but also some of the most rewarding things about coaching at the JUCO level? It's not for everybody, but what are those things? Because I think a lot of people have seen the last chance to use, and they see those, which might portray some pieces, but might portray a lot of things very, very wrong.
It's entertainment.
It's entertainment, right?
It's entertainment.
So what are the most rewarding things, but what are also most challenging things about coaching at a JUCO?
Yeah. First off, California JUCO is just crazy, right? It's the place where everybody wants to be. So it's tough. But like, and more specifically, like, being at PC is a little bit more challenging, and compared to everybody else in the Central Valley Conference and the CVC where we play. I'm the only coach that's not full-time in the entire conference, right? So they're full-time on campus. They're able to be with the girls all the time. Their practices probably end at like maybe the latest at 3. They got time to go recruit, go watch games, all that stuff, all that you mentioned. I'm a PE teacher as well. So I got a job. I got a full-time job. Then I got to go do that stuff with the girls, go to practice, try to find time to watch film, try to find time to stat, recruit, all that. I don't have a lot of luxury like other coaches have. So I think that's challenging, but also we don't have a lot of resources like other colleges in our conference have as well. We don't have the dorms. We don't have any of that. So like finding housing's hard. Getting out of town, out of state kids, it's tough because we got to find housing. And then I deal with, I obviously coach girls. I got to make sure the parents comfortable with their 18, 19-year-old. In some cases, I got a kid on my team right now. She's 17.
That's their babies, right?
That's their daughter. I got to make sure they're comfortable with her being in that situation to make sure she's safe. So like there's so many challenges that don't even have to do with basketball. You know what I mean? It's before basketball even gets there.
Right.
And in California, we're the only state that's not offering scholarships. So how am I going to tell this kid from Idaho to come down here and pay your out-of-state tuition when you can go get some type of scholarship at a JUCO in Washington or whatever? So I think it's difficult in that sense because I don't have all the resources that I wish I had. I don't have enough time like I wish I had. But I think we've been pretty good with the kids that we've gotten in. We got a lot of local kids, and they're staying local, which is nice. I like that. I like the loyalty in that. Because we do have a lot of good talent here in Porterville, Tulare, Exeter, Visalia, Lindsay. Like, we do have talent. So I want kids to take pride in where they come from, and I'm glad they stay home, which is nice. But I think like the biggest reward out of all this, two things I would say is, number one, watching them graduate, go on, and, knowing that you're maybe played a little bit a part of that. But like number two is when these kids are going through something or, they're going through more things than kids than I think I did when I growing up, they got a lot of stuff going on. I have a lot of kids that are older siblings that got a job. They go to school full time, they play basketball, and they have a job and paying bills with their family. Like, that's a lot of responsibility for an 18, 19-year-old kid. But I think it's really rewarding when they'll come up to me and ask me for advice, or they'll come up to me and talk to me about stuff. I think if they feel comfortable with talking to me about that and they feel like I'm a mentor to them, like, that feels good. Like you played a part in this kid's life beyond basketball. And that's ultimately like what I want,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, because that's a lot of adversity for you as a coach.
Oh yeah.
Before you even get to dribble a ball.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. It's like you're seeing a mountain in front of you, but I feel like you're handling it really, really well, and that speaks volume, not just, well, obviously you are the program, but if you were to say, right, speaking of all this adversity and talking about the highs and the lows, right off the bat, what is the first thing that you would change, though, to change that, though? How would you replace something in order for it to be better? Whatever the situation might be, it could be the recruiting process, it could be the parent trying to trust you, whatever the case may be. What's the first thing that you would love to change if given the power instantly? What would it be?
I would want to be full-time at Porterville College, because if I'm there and the kids can see me more, I can have more interactions, I can be there for them more. Besides like the dropping on class, making sure they're going to study hall, besides all that managing stuff, just having a place for them to go if they need it, and just building that relationship more, building that bond and that relationship. Because I feel like I've done a pretty good job in building the relationship with the kids. Right. I mean, shoot, they tell me everything. Right. I'm the counselor.
And kids don't just do that. They don't just trust people.
Yeah. So, I feel like I'm pretty good at establishing those relationships. But I think it goes back to just me being open, honest, blunt with them, and providing a safe, vulnerable place for them. But I just wish I was there more. Like, I was more involved in their life outside of basketball too.
Right.
But
that's not to say you aren't doing everything in your power to make sure that you're doing the best with what you got.
With a little, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Just would be nice to have that leeway,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, I mean, like we said, there's lots of rewards that you're doing a lot with a little. And you said if you could change one thing, it would be full time.
Yeah.
Right. So, like going into this upcoming season, when do you guys start?
November 2nd is our first game.
It's coming up.
It's coming soon.
So you
Tournament.
guys, yeah. So it's coming up quick, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess what are your goals this upcoming season, and like what do you want to kind of achieve, and what's like the outlook look like right now?
So last year we finished 4th in conference, which is our highest finish in quite some time. We were 9-18, something like that. Should have been a whole lot more. Last year was some growing pains for sure. I think there's a lot of games we were up, have a 20-point lead at half and blow it.
Yeah.
Or we just let things slip away a little bit, got complacent. So this year, for sure, I want to get more wins than we did last year. And I think it's doable. I think this year we have a pretty good group of kids. Like I very much like my freshman group, very committed, very involved. Like they're doing great. I think I want to either take 4th or 3rd in conference. I want to place a little bit higher than that, but I want to have at least a 500 season. And I think it's possible. I think it is possible with this group. We got a lot of kids that can score, a lot of kids that sacrifice themselves for anything. We got a lot of coachable kids that want to do whatever, and they just want to get better. Like there was a practice that I missed because I had back to school night and my assistant took over. And 3 of my girls sent me a picture of them working out together at Planet Fitness in their practice uniforms, and they were lifting together and sending me videos of like, are we doing this right? Are we like, what about this workout? Is this okay?
Right.
And I'm just like, man, these kids just want to get better. They always talk about wanting to get in the weight room. They always talk about wanting to get shots up. So I think this group is just, they're a little bit more focused.
Committed.
Yeah, they're very committed, and they like each other too. That's
important.
So hard.
Yeah,
it's so hard to find.
With girls in general, nevertheless, a girls basketball team, right?
Yeah, but they like each other, and they're, this is nice. I don't have to yell at a kid for not diving at a 50-50. They're all getting on the floor. So the heart of the team, I think, is great, and I think they're doing really good. I just get concerned, low numbers. We got low numbers this year, not as much as I initially wanted. Some fell off. That happens. But I expect us to be pretty damn good this year. I expect us to be tough nose and
competitive.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be gritty. I think that's a good way of putting it. Super gritty this year.
Obviously the ultimate goal is to send at the JUCO level, to send kids to the next level. Yeah. So with your team coming up this season, is there interest? Is there girls that you think you're going to be able to pit? And how many you think will be able to kind of reach that next level?
Oh, yeah. So I have 3 returners. I got 3 sophomores, Gracie Magana, Asiria Marietta, and Davina Lopez. I've already talked to coaches about them, putting them on the radar. But I definitely think all 3 could get out. And it just depends, though, what the kid wants. Because ultimately, you got to be happy with where you go, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're not liking where we're at, it's a little bit harder. But if you put some stipulations on where you want to go, it's also hard too. Like if you want to be in California, that's going to be tough. Mm-hmm. And that's a conversation I have with these kids. Like this is a level I think you could be successful at. And I think, if you broaden your horizons and say, I will go anywhere that I'm wanted. And that's the biggest thing, where you're wanted, then you could be successful, and I can send them all off. But I have those conversations with them early on. And those 3 girls are like, I will go anywhere. So I think the fact that they're so open to that, I could easily find a spot for them.
More opportunity.
There's so many colleges out there. There's so much that you could do, so many levels. It's just, I try to always constantly tell them, go where you're wanted. Like the coach that you think is annoying because they text you all the time, or the one that's like complimenting you all the time. I know they don't like that. Kids they don't like that stuff, right? Oh, he's texting me all the time. Da, 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 da. I'm like, that's where you want to go. Right. You don't want to go to the place where they reach out to you. The assistant coach is reaching out to you and head coach don't even know about it yet.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want that. You want that head coach that's harassing you.
You reach out to a lot of coaches. You're sending film, and how do you help them, I guess, get the best looks and
navigate
get
that?
the best, have the best recruitment, I guess, experience possible?
Well, first, before like anything even like happens, any games, I kind of tell them like, this is the level I think you'll be most successful at. Whether that's NAIA, I think they can, maybe jump to a D2. And I tell them.
So you're real with them. You're going to be honest, real with them up front.
You need to.
You have to be.
You have to. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you like, oh, you're going to be getting all these like, you're 5'2". Okay. We're going to get all these D1 looks when you're shooting 20-something% behind.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not realistic. And I'll have those conversations with, this is where I think you'll be successful. And this is how I think you'll be successful this year. This is where I think you'll get recruited the most. And we'll have that conversation. And then after that, it's just the whole, do you want to stay here? You want to stay local, close to family? Are you willing to venture out? And if we're willing to venture out, and I tell them, it's not, you need to put some parameters on it.
Sure.
Is it every state? Do you want to go up to North Dakota where you're going to be in snow for 10 months? You know what I mean? Like you got to be realistic with yourself. And I tell them, you need to be honest with yourself as well. Of where you would be happy. If you say you want to be at a D2 level, are you ready for the commitment of a D2 level? Right? And that's something we talk about. Do you want basketball to still be fun and a hobby, or do you want it to be a job? Because that's different too. NAIA, you might have a little bit more leeway. There's some successful NAIA programs,
Sure.
don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Really successful that could probably beat some D2s. But like, you need to be realistic. And a lot of my kids do play multiple sports as well. Do you want to play both sports? Like Davina Lopez plays volleyball.
Yeah.
She could go at either or. Do you want to play both at the 4-year? If you do, we might have to go maybe NAIA, maybe D3, somewhere that feels more comfortable with you playing multiple sports, because not a lot of D2 programs might not want that. So it's just kind of getting an overall idea of what the kid wants. And then when we have that, then it's reaching out to programs that I think are a good fit for them. Or the programs, usually if your kid's putting up some decent numbers, they come to you too. And then from there, I like having conversations with the coaches. I like to filter that process. I don't like them going straight to the athlete.
Okay.
Because
I was going to ask that.
Yeah. I typically don't, because again, like I said, and there's nothing against 4 years. It is a business. So they're going to say a lot of things that might not necessarily, like they're going to say a lot of things to make you want to go there, but that might not be the truth. You know what I mean? So I like talking to the coaches and being like, hey, like, this is what you're getting from this kid. This is what they come with. This is the things that they need to be successful. Can we navigate that? Like, are you that best fit?
And you're on it, and you're honest, very blunt person to begin with, but you probably tell the kids, like, I'm going to be very honest. I'm not lying to no coaches.
Yeah,
like, that ain't going to happen. Because there's programs, there's people that do that and sell that, but to have that name, to be reliable and to build a relationship with these coaches at the 4-year level, you got to be honest. Because if you're all it takes is one athlete, you deliver them, and it ain't what you said.
Right.
And I'll tell them too, I'm not going to put my name on it if I don't believe in it.
You're not selling snake oil.
No.
Right.
So, and those are tough conversations. And I'll tell the girls too, like, I said this about you. I said that. And I'll tell them exactly what I said. But they know everything I say or do comes in place from love.
Sure.
It's not ever like me trying to belittle them or talk them down. It's just, and I tell them too, we're kids. We got to grow. We're not perfect. You got to fix some things. I still got to fix some things too. And that's where I try to like relate to them too. I'm not perfect either, So, just being completely blunt, honest with them, trying to see what they're trying to navigate, and then finding a coach and a program that I think best suits them. And I think that's the biggest thing is it's hard to find that. It's like finding a relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
It really is. It's like you're dating, right? Like you got to find the best fit. Like this school might look great and it might sound good and the money might be there, but are you fitting into that system? What are your strengths and weaknesses? Do you fit there? You know? And so we filter through that as well.
Yeah. And I mean, and to get an offer today, whether it's football or basketball, or football more so, but like back in the day when you got an offer, right, from like football or whatever it was, D1 offer, D2, that was like, okay, I'm in. Nowadays, like I heard, I was listening to a podcast the other day and they were talking about this. When we give offers, we're offering a lot more roster spots than we actually have.
Oh, yeah.
Because we understand that that 5-star, you know, it's 50-50 or the 25% chance we're going to get him. Okay, so to actually get an offer, like they'll offer kids and pull offers all the time, especially in football with the big numbers, you know, 105-man roster. So it's, you know, everybody's getting mail and everyone's getting this stuff. And even there's a lot of guys getting offers, but do they actually want you? What are they doing? And so I think you talked about those coaches that are like interest, you'll know.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
You will absolutely know.
Because there's a lot of people that sell a lot of bullshit and this and that. And and you see it. I mean,
oh, yeah. And I try to tell them that too. Like, this is a business.
It is.
It's not, and it's not trying to like shit on anybody or anything, but like, what you won't do, there's 10 other girls that will. You know what I mean? So like, you got to how you going to make yourself the most marketable and not make yourself a liability? And that's what it is. Like, yeah, let's say you're same level as this other kid, but you got a higher GPA. You've held jobs on campus. You've done some other stuff. You've worked in the community. They're going to look at you and be like, I'm going to take this kid that maybe is the same skill level as this kid, but I don't got to worry about them. Right? Like you're good. You're solid. You're overall just a solid person. So I always tell the girls, like, you got to make yourself the most marketable as possible. Right. You got to sell yourself and you can't be no liability. Grades got to be there. We have to have grades. We have to be at every practice. You got to have the good attitude. Your film, when they watch it and you mess up, you can't be all, moping around, dragging your head when you come off. Whenever I pull you out of a game, if you mess up, you better still be cheering on the bench with your teammates. However much the second, third string cheers you on, you better be doing the same damn thing. So I try to tell them, like, it's not skills anywhere, skills everywhere. But like, how are you any different?
How are you separating yourself?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the truth, because you're going to have a bad night. But if the main goal is winning, then it better become we, never me. Yeah. All times. But okay, this is a question. You to go and start talking about the parents, right? I'm sure the parents are heavily involved whenever you're trying to get their daughter to come and commit to your program, right? When that has been, let's just say, right, you got a girl to commit to you, right? She's in your program now. Do you still get that involvement from a parent? Or is it kind of like, all right, you have my daughter, I have full, complete trust in you. Do your thing now. Let's see what you could do with my daughter now. Or are they still heavily involved in their process of in the process of their daughter hopefully trying to get recruited to the next level?
Yeah.
And I'm going somewhere with this and leading into another question.
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of girls that I have had recently have been from here. So family involvement has been to the extent of like being at every game, doing all that. Right. I talk to them when I see them. I might know them on a personal level, all that. But it hasn't been necessarily like when we're going through the recruiting process, getting out, they're not there. Right. They're typically not there. It is me and the kid, going through that process and trying to make that decision. Sometimes I will tell the kid, definitely talk about it with your parents, talk about it with your mom, talk about it with your dad. Right. But for the most part, like when they hand the kid over, I usually get like that complete full trust. Custody. Yeah, I usually do. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that when they come to me, like I do a lot of team bonding things.
Right.
So, and my family is super involved in my stuff. My mom is at my mom and dad are at every single home game.
Mm-hmm.
My brother and his wife, typically at every home game that they can attend, unless, they're working.
Right.
My family is heavily involved. So the girls, my mom is their second mom. If not, I'm the second mom. My mom's the third mom. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they have that comfort, and their families typically meet my family. So
Right.
I think they feel comfortable and that, and they're more likely to hand over the reins.
Right.
There may have been times where they're going through something, and I talk to mom and dad, or make sure the kid is okay. But for the most part, yeah, I pretty much assume a full custody of the kid.
Okay. That's good, to be honest with you. It seems like you've had more joy than pain, you know what I mean? And so what I was going to lead into was that correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure there might have been a time where a parent has been too involved, possibly. If not, maybe you've seen a parent for another program or another school or whatever be too involved with their kid. And I want to know, what advice would you give to parents that are like that with their athletes? Like, how would you, what advice would you give them basically to help their kid, and the program before it becomes a little bit too far to pull them out?
Yeah. I think my biggest advice would, as a parent, you need to be a support system, right? You need to be there for your athlete. You need to make sure, you're there for when they want to vent, when they're going through something, maybe whenever, they're not feeling as confident, they have a few bad games, they want to come to talk to you. I think parents need to just, sounds bad, but parents just need to be parents. Stay in that lane. Let the coach deal with the coaching aspect of it, and you deal with the supportive role of it. Because at the end of the day, your kid does not need more coaching advice from you. You need to be the vulnerable place for them to just totally break down if they need to.
Right.
And if they need that help to get that confidence back, you need to help with that. But as far as being too involved, maybe getting in, having scuffles with the coach, maybe there's, upset about playing time. I mean, I think this happens a lot more in the high school level than it does at the JUCO level, because, playing time's not guaranteed the best of the best. We're in college, even though it is JUCO, it's still college. So at the high school level, you see that, I think, more than you do at the JUCO. But I just think parents just need to be that supportive role and just be the encouraging person for their athlete. Don't be a coach. Don't coach your kids. I would strongly advise against that. Don't coach your kids. They see too many aspects of you anyways.
Yeah.
They have you as the authoritative role. They have you as that mentor. They have you as the mom, dad, whoever they need to go to when they're going through some shit. And then you're also going to be their coach. That's too many hats, separate that. Because there's nothing worse than you're having a terrible day at practice. You have a bad game and you come home and you're still hearing about it. There needs to be some separation. Right. There's got to be some boundaries. So, I don't advise parents to coach. I think they should learn from other people. They should get some different perspectives. And I think parents biggest thing is just support your kid. Tell your kid you're proud of them. That goes such a long way. Tell your kid you're proud of them. Tell your kids that they're great even when they feel like they're not. And then also, I think parents need to, with any sport, basketball, we're talking about basketball, but in any sport, let your kid know that they're more than just an athlete, don't make your whole identity about your sport. The kids got to have other interests too. Let them know that they're smart and they're intelligent, in their whatever way that they are, and get them involved in other things too. Because when your career ends, which it will, it's hard if your entire identity is just your sport, because you don't know who the hell you are. And that happened to me.
Right.
It was, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And
God forbid something happens along the way, you get hurt or something just takes you off the railroad.
Yeah. And you never know. As easy as it comes, it can go. So make sure your kid knows that they're just more than the sport, and that they're worth a whole lot more than just an X and O,
Yeah. As a parent, it's never a bad time or a wrong time to ever tell your kids, I love you.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm proud of you. And I feel like that a lot of kids, They don't feel that. They don't get that. And just speaking from the girls I've had before, maybe they have siblings, older siblings, younger siblings that they also are athletes as well. They need to hear that, you know, they need to hear that I'm proud of you. Like, you're amazing. You know, I love watching you play. And I think a lot of kids, if their parents did that, they would be completely different.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, you know, because it's such a hard thing, you know, for parents to get into that type of, you know, talk.
Mm-hmm.
But what's so crazy is that, man, the moment that you can start speaking like that to your son or your daughter,
yeah,
their game reaches a whole new level.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It just sparks into this beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just so hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard for parents to get to that specific place to where it's just like, all right, you're a student and a player to Alia. I'm your father or your mother. I love you. I support you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see you have the utmost respect. But I want to just share a brief story. There was a parent who got a little bit too involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Got a little too involved with, and I'm not going to share any specifics with, and I'm sure we've all heard a story of a parent getting too involved and the kid just fell out completely in love with the thing and they were done.
Yeah.
They don't want to do anything with it, right?
I've heard some horror stories, especially with wrestling.
It gets bad,
really bad.
That's a tough sport, man.
Yeah. It gets, and it, you know, and it, what I'm basically trying to say is that if you don't think it looks bad from the outside looking in, then you need to reevaluate it.
Mm-hmm.
Because how bad, like when a parent is just ripping into their kid on the sidelines or during halftime, like, parents, you got to realize that, man, that is not a good look.
Yeah.
It's not a good look for you. It's not a good look for your kid. It's not a good look for anybody around, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But the story that I wanted to share was basically, so there was a situation to where we had an athlete, we had a parent, got too involved. It got bad, right? And it got dark for that kid. It got real, real dark. And I'm only sharing the story because I hope that somebody is listening and they don't allow this to get to the point for them and their relationship with their kid. It got really dark to where that kid started harming themselves.
Yeah.
And so the reason, again, why I'm sharing that is because if there is a parent out there who thinks that it is ever a right time to say, man, you suck, you were terrible, like, your words hurt. Your words hurt, you know. You may not think they hurt, and you might be saying the right thing. Your kid might have been very terrible that game.
Yeah.
But your tone and your vocabulary does matter.
Is wrong. Yeah.
Because if you don't think it does, I promise you, I shouldn't say it, I hope that doesn't become your situation.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, I think you nailed it, though.
No, but I mean,
I think you nailed it.
When the self-worth of a kid is wrapped up in a sport, that's a lot of harm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get that, and I've seen that. I mean, I love my family. I love them to death.
Right.
I love my dad to death. Love my mom to death. But they were hard on me for sure. And like, my dad was real hard on me. And I know it's because he knew that I could be better.
Right.
And he probably was pissed off because I wasn't doing the stuff I should be doing. Right. Like, he's probably like, you're good and you don't even try. Imagine if you committed yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And I know that's the thought process behind it. And I can see how it's frustrating because I think the same thing about my girls. Like, damn, you're good. Imagine if you gave a shit. You know, like, it's frustrating. But you do have to watch how you say it. And like, that's why I think why I'm also different than most coaches. I've never ever cussed at my girls or said anything negative to them in any way.
Belittled them.
I can't do that.
Right.
Because I know how it felt when that happened to me. I've seen other people go through it, but also like, I want my girls to feel comfortable to come up to me and be like, I'm not confident right now. And like, for example, last year, one of my girls, Jenna Holder, she had a rough couple games. Didn't play very well. She straight up asked to talk before a game, came into my hotel room and was just like, I'm gonna be real honest with you. I have no confidence right now. And I don't think I should start.
Right.
I think Assyria should start over me. She's been playing better than me. And she had, she felt comfortable enough for us to talk about it. And we had a conversation about it, and we talked quite a while about it. And I just had to like reassure her, like, there's a reason why you're still in there.
Right.
Like, that you still, and I'm not going to pull her now. Why am I going to pull her after starting lineup now? Now it just reaffirms everything that she just said.
Yeah.
I'm never going to get that back. I'm never going to get that confidence back. And I told her, like, if I have enough confidence in you to keep rocking with you, for starting you when you're averaging more turnovers than points at this point, that's saying something, right? You're still doing something, right? So, I mean, I hope I'm having the open and honest communication with my kids. And I feel like I have done that pretty well, where they have told me, I don't feel like I'm doing good. I suck right now.
Right.
And I have to try to change that mindset. And you got to try to change it and get them to see beyond last game or beyond that one mistake. Like we got to move forward. So that's, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So obviously, I mean, you have a lot of stuff. Like, you have your master's in sports psychology, and you have 3 seasons under your belt at PC with the women's program, not including your time with the men's program. So, like, what's your like ultimate goal? Like, what would you like to achieve? Is it go to coach at university someday? Is it like, what does that look like? Do you want to stay at the JUCO level? I know that's like a big question, but like, we always have goals that we set, big goals, and some people might laugh. And if you don't want to share those, that's fine. But I just thought I'd ask.
My ultimate, I don't want to ever go to a 4-year.
Okay.
I'll just make that very obvious. I don't. I like the kids too much to want to go to a 4-year. I get too involved. I want to say I'm like a very emotional person, but like I get attached. And like these kids, they're my kids, and they will always be my kids. Even the ones that are no longer playing for me. I mean, even the ones that maybe have quit because they decided it's not for them. Those are my kids still. I would do anything for those kids. I can't leave the JUCO level because I feel like I get more of a chance to make those connections than at a 4-year. 4-year, we're more about business and yeah. I want it to be developmental, in all aspects, not just basketball, but just life. These kids most of the time, they need a mentor in just life in general. But definitely want to stay at JUCO. My ultimate goal would be making PC a successful program. I mean, I'm from here. I played there. I have so much loyalty to this school, this town, these kids. I was them.
Yeah.
Like I was them. The girls that are on my team now, that was me a few years ago, but it was me. Like, so, yeah, I just want to make sure the kids know that they can get out of here and do something with their life. And if they want to come back to this community to try to make it better, by all means, 100% do that. Yeah. But just hopefully making this program a successful program by the time I leave. And just helping the kids out and hopefully give them something more than just basketball. Hopefully I gave them a few life lessons along the way and they're better people for it.
Yeah. What would successful program, what would that look like for you? I mean, I know your standards are high, but like, what would a successful Porterville College program leave or be if you were to leave and be like, okay, like when it's all said and done, you've done it, and like you're like, okay, I'm proud of that.
Like I feel like I can leave on this note.
Yes, yeah. What would that look like?
That'd be tough. That'd be like at least making it to playoffs every year consistently, being competitive. All my kids graduating with an AA, 80% of them going off and playing somewhere else. Ideally, I would like everybody to go off and play somewhere else if that's what they want.
Yeah.
But so like right now, like I think of, I keep stats of who's gone where and who's not. And I'm like trying to base it off of like who wanted to leave and did they leave? Yes or no? And if I didn't get that kid out, like I feel some type of way. Like I feel like I let them down. I didn't do my job. So like ideally what I would want to walk out on would be, we're competitive, ranked 1 or 2 in the conference. We're making playoffs consistently. My kids are going places. I got kids in different states. And all my kids at least graduate with their AA and know that they can go on to get a bachelor's and have the high enough GPA to go if they just want to go to school, and they feel confident and they know that they're intelligent enough to do that. And that would be ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, I'm sure just you being the coach you are and instilling that into them, you're going to have at least probably a few coaches, maybe develop a few of your former players as coaches as well. That would be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
You never know, might get to coach with some of them and coach against some of them as well.
I know.
That'd be cool. That's always cool, those stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is. And I hope you have all the success.
Yeah, you will, sure.
It would be awesome to see that turnaround at PC for sure. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so November's coming real quick, right? It's coming. You're going to be a ghost pretty soon, right? You're going to be head into it. You're going to be really involved. So where are you at right now with the program? So what's the program doing right now, leading up into November?
Well, right now, I think we're going back to fundamentals. I feel like we haven't built too much on like team concepts of like as far as what type of plays we're running, all that. It's more just learning right now. So we're learning different types of defense, how I want to play defense, some of the rules and procedures I want to do. And we're doing a lot of conditioning and weights, trying to get us in shape because like I said, we got low numbers, but we're also little. So I want to take advantage of that. So we're trying to be in the best shape we can possibly be. Like I want practice to be 10 times harder than a game. Right. Like I want them to be cruising. And I want us to get stronger. I want us to develop that. But I'm just trying to basically right now just get them in the weights, get conditioning, and get that IQ up. I think that's my main goal at this point.
That's perfect.
And the first game is when again?
November 2nd.
When's the first home game?
Ooh. I think like a week later. I'm not even sure the exact date.
Who do you guys play?
Not even sure the exact date.
Google it.
Yeah. Well, so anyways, hopefully you guys come out and support PC women's basketball and the men's program this year.
Yes.
Definitely try to make it out there and get some of our kids out there as well. So, thank you, Alia, for taking the time to, we've been talking about this for a while and finally able to make it happen. And so very grateful, for all that you're doing. And your days are full. PE teacher and, full-time, women's college basketball coach. Not too many people around the country could say that. They have basically two full-time jobs, right?
100%.
Really more than that. I mean, teaching's more than a full-time job itself. And then, So, congratulations on everything you're doing, and definitely looking forward to all the success you're going to have.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.